So fasten your seatbelts. Here comes another one of my antique eBay unboxings. And this is something I was eagerly waiting for. And today is the day of arrival, which is great. Now, it's a seller I purchased 4 other items from. She's my favorite seller on eBay. She has quite a few really interesting items and unique items. So stay tuned. So this is another one of my, well, a lot of you probably like who really don't know much about these things think it's really, really weird and that I might be like a weirdo, but well, maybe I am just a little bit. But nonetheless, I collect antique Victorian hair pieces. Well, not wigs, but pieces that were hand woven, and it's like art jewelry. And I just find it absolutely fascinating that this hair was like hand weaved and made into a jewelry piece. As you can see, look how intricate this is. Look how detailed that is. This must have taken hours for somebody to just sit there and just weave it. Isn't that really cool? So this is what is known as a pocket watch, and it's a pocket watch chain with fob charm. And gentlemen, well, women could wear them too, but mostly gentlemen did. And they would have have it attached to like their vest or one of their buttons in their suits, and have their watch attached to it. And the reason for these pocket watch chains were so that the gentleman wouldn't lose his pocket watch. And so if you're a metal detector, you probably like are saying, oh, boo, there's less stuff for me to find out there, because people probably lost a lot less pieces of jewelry. But nonetheless, they're still out there probably. Some guy probably didn't have a pocket watch chain and lost his pocket watch. So keep detecting. But nonetheless, this is really, really a cool piece. And the reason why I wanted it so bad. Now, this seller, I've done business with her in the past. I purchased 4 other pieces like this. Was because this piece here is patriotic. And I love America. And I love anything to do with patriotism from the Victorian era or before that. So this happens to be the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks. And so here we have the logo. Let me try to zoom in on that. And hang on one second because my camera is not cooperating, as usual. And so here is the logo. There's like a little clock. And there's the Benevolent Protective Order of Elks logo there with none other than a little elk. So I don't know if this is made out of gold. Now, a lot of antique jewelry was unmarked, whereas it didn't tell you the level of certain precious metals. So you won't see a lot of it stamped if it was previous to 1891. Now, in 1891, President McKinley had actually passed some kind of law called the McKinley, I believe the McKinley Tariff Act or something like that. Now, I don't know the exact term. And everything that came from out of the country had to be marked with a country of origin. And I believe metals around that time also had to be stamped as well if it was precious metals. So this is most likely gold plated going around the piece. So a lot of these things to make it more affordable for people, they plated a lot of metals actually with gold. You could also find pieces like this in silver or even brass. But now I probably will never know if this is really gold unless they get it tested. Now, if it's gold, it's going to be worth a nice amount of money because you have an original Victorian charm here made out of gold. And so what this piece is down here is an elk's tooth. And I think that's really fascinating. So that's an elk's tooth. Let me try to see if there's any markings on this piece telling me if it's gold or not. Sometimes they did mark things even before it was required. But yeah, I don't see anything. So let me actually tell you more about the Elks Club. So the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks was founded in 1868. And the membership requirements included a belief in God or a supreme being. Now, if you didn't believe in any of those things, you were not actually welcome. Another requirement was American citizenship. You could not be an illegal alien back then and join this club. Good moral character was another one. And you had to be over 21 years old, and nobody, which I love, this is great, nobody from the Communist Party could join. So if you were a commie, sorry, you're not admitted. And if you were a Bolshevist, sorry. So if you back then had some kind of Russian collusion, you were not allowed in there. But I love the fact that they threw commies out of there. No commies allowed. So I wonder if certain political figures of today would have probably went in activist mode and started protesting this group. But nonetheless, Elks tooth fobs were often given to a member as a token of appreciation by a grateful lodge, or bestowed upon a proud elk father on his son at initiation into the ancestral Elks Lodge, which is quite interesting. Some fraternal organizations, fobs are made from animal teeth or even claws, and were enough to cause a dust-up at the White House level. So that's pretty interesting. Sometime between the founding of the Order of the Elks in 1868 and the end of the 19th century, it became very fashionable for members of the Benevolent Order of Elks to wear a genuine elk's tooth. The tooth was polished and mounted in gold casings and was commonly worn as a fob, such as you see here. The elk's tooth fob became so popular that in 1902, President Teddy Roosevelt suggested that elk herds were being slaughtered to obtain their teeth to make into fobs and were in danger of disappearing. So President Teddy Roosevelt appealed the grand exalted ruler, who was Henry Melvin, by stating the wearing of elk's teeth by members was causing a great slaughter of elk, and asked him to abolish members from wearing the teeth for decorative purposes. So this is telling me then this is probably previous to 1902, when Teddy Roosevelt actually really caused a stir about this. Now, in 1908, a special commission spent 2 weeks in elk territory talking to settlers, game wardens, and hunters. They concluded that it was the advance of civilization that was cutting the animals off from their natural grazing grounds and causing them to die out. And killing them for their teeth had a minimal impact on the herds. Ultimately, however, President Teddy Roosevelt's recommendations were adopted, and therefore manufacturers of fraternal fobs listed their charms as being genuine walrus ivory teeth. So I guess they got around that. Now, with the advent of the wristwatch and the scarcity of metal caused by World War II, the fob charm slowly disappeared. Relentlessly pursued by collectors, these pieces serve as a nostalgic or sentimental nod to a bygone era, which many collectors find interesting. So also as an interest to collectors is that although the fobs were made in a myriad of materials and designs, what they all seem to have in common is that their backs are often engraved with wonderful historical details, dates, names or initials, and sometimes cryptic letters. This one does not have such things, but nonetheless, this is fantastic. And I find this really a great history piece to the Elks. And I really, like I said, I really like them even more now that they threw communists out. That's great. We don't need socialism, and we definitely do not need communism in America. So thanks for watching. If you like what you see, hit the thumbs up and subscribe.